right, Florida with a big win against Arkansas, 63-35. Kyle Trask with another huge night. We got Jackie Franchuli on the line from All Gators on SI. Jackie, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing well. This was a very good game for Florida, considering Kyle Pitts wasn't playing, and a great performance by Kyle Trask.
Absolutely. So I got to admit, I didn't see one play of this game, so that's why we've got you on here. But I did see the score go by, and I expect to take it in at some point this week as I got it on my DVR. But wow, 63-35 against a team that has been playing rather well. It's a much improved Arkansas team that had given all sorts of teams fits and beaten some pretty good competition in the SEC Western Division. So this Florida team, after some early season struggles, not on the offensive side, of course, has certainly found its groove the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. When you look at that 63-35 score, you think, was this a basketball game? Was it a Big 12 game? No, this was an SEC game. And this was a Florida offense going up against an Arkansas defense that prior to this game was the second ranked passing defense in the SEC. They were averaging just 222 passing yards. And today, Florida had 385 passing yards against that Arkansas defense. It was a great game by Kyle Trask, who had 6 touchdown passes. I think Kyle Trask in this game said, "Remember me? I'm a Heisman contender in this game." I know he slowly was starting to get national attention after that Georgia win. But I think this game kind of, I was watching the ESPN broadcast for a bit, and you can see now they're talking about him along with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. So a lot of people are taking notice of him, and you have to see why. Cal Trask is now the first player in Florida history to throw 6 touchdown passes in multiple games in the season. He did that against Georgia as well. And then he also had 28 touchdown passes this year, tied for most by any FBS player through 6 games. And he extended the SEC record as well for having 4 or more touchdown passes in a game. He's having a season to remember. And, when you look at Florida's schedule, it looks really good for Florida. They face Vandy next week. And then they have Kentucky, Tennessee, and LSU. So it's a very good schedule for Florida. Kyle Trask continues to show that, he is a guy leading this offense. He's improved. But when you look at the game today, especially, what we learned was Florida has multiple weapons. They're not just Kyle Pitts. They are also Xavier Henderson. They're also Keon Zipper. They're also Trevon Grimes. They're also Jacob Copeland. They're also Damian Pierce. All those offensive weapons are there for Kyle Trask to throw to them. So this was a really good kind of coming out party for the rest of the Florida offense, because usually when we're here talking, we're talking about the Kyles, Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts. And obviously Kyle Trask warrants a lot of this praise. But what we need to focus on, too, is the fact that he has the good weapons around him. So if Kyle Pitts is out, which he looks like he's going to be out for Vandy as well, he had surgery on his nose from that collision from Georgia that caused that concussion. So without Pitts, they still have enough weapons to cause problems. So this is a team that can certainly go really far into the postseason.
Got Jackie Franchuli on the line from allgators.com on the SI platform. Jackie joins us on a regular basis, and appreciate her calling in tonight to give us the lowdown on the Florida big win over Arkansas, 63-35. So before we get to the defense, Jackie, one other point on the offense, especially since I've had disgruntled Michigan fans calling me tonight and disgruntled Georgia fans based on their quarterback situation, the lack of development in the quarterback room. And I told a little white lie. I did catch about 8 to 10 plays of the game as I was cutting back from other games during commercial breaks. And even during the broadcast, it was being talked about that Kyle Trask never started a game in high school, on, and the whole story that we all know and have heard a million times. But it does underline Dan Mullen's ability to develop quarterbacks. If you look at the long litany of quarterbacks that he's developed at his stops at Mississippi State and prior to, of course, as an offensive coordinator at Florida. And it is something to really mark his legacy that's obviously continuing to be built.
No, for sure. And actually, there's a meme going around on Twitter. Someone got a video of Dan Mullen kind of talking seriously to Kyle Trask, looking like he was, telling Trask what he did wrong after his fifth touchdown pass. And you see that, and that right there is explains why Mullen has done well with quarterbacks. He's dissecting a guy that who went 23 for 29 for 356 yards passing and 6 touchdowns. That is what he was doing right there. And, even, Kyle Trask was like, that's the type of coach that I want to play for. I want a coach that wants perfection, and he's correcting me odd little things, and that's why I get better. But Dan Mullen is doing great. He's obviously got a resume to show which quarterbacks he's developed. But you have to take a minute and go back and congratulate one, Randy Shannon, and two, Doug Nussmeier, for finding Kyle Trask. When Nussmeier and McWayne were still at Florida, I remember speaking with Nussmeier, and he was saying that Kyle Trask was going to be the future of this University of Florida team. Nussmeier knew what Trask was capable of. I don't know if this Trask would have reached these heights under that former staff. We don't know, obviously, but you got to give credit at least for them to finding this talent who was not playing starting on a high school team, and was not in any recruiting services. I think he was ranked in the late 200s, early 300s coming out of his recruiting class. No one gave him a chance. Although I will say I was on the Trask train a lot earlier than many people. If you were a subscriber to scout.com's fightinggators.com, I was on the Trask train for a while. I thought he should have won the starting job Mullen's first season. But he also had a couple of injuries, which kind of derailed his career a little bit there early on.
I guess we'll have to get our fact checkers and dive into the archive to fact check you, Jackie.
No, it's okay. I've got screenshots. That's what. But no, I think Dan Mullen has done a good job of developing talent in many places he's gone, and so has the staff members. And I think if you look at that tight end room, seeing Kamori Gamble and Keon Zipper and what they were able to do today as well. Brewster has obviously done a very big impact in that room. And when you look at a guy in the wide receiver room like Kadarius Toney developing and how he's changed and becoming a complete wide receiver, and you look at all these other wide receivers also like Trevon Grimes, and you see like Justin Shorter. Justin Shorter has been a huge addition to Florida. So it's not obviously Kyle Trask is going to be the story because his numbers are amazing. But just overall, what this staff has done to semi-annual players, to making them step forward in their career. And that's why this Florida team is going to be tough to stop offensively.
Yeah, Justin Shorter probably pretty happy right about now. He's not at Penn State.
And Penn State fans are upset that he's not there.
Exactly. They could use some weapons. Which brings me to when you mentioned Toney in particular, and when you mentioned Dameon Pierce a few minutes ago, because thinking back to the Georgia game, there were some interesting routes and concepts that they gave Dameon Pierce to get him out of the backfield, get him in pass patterns. And I'm sure this is another thing that Dan Mullen, as the mad scientist, loves, is when he's got so many weapons that can do different things that, that he can line them up in different formations, put them in different roles, and just play around and continue to evolve the offense.
No, that's right. And actually, Mark, I didn't even mention this. They had 280 rushing yards against Arkansas. That is the first time they had over 100 yards rushing this whole season. So it's when you have an ability to stretch the field that Kyle Trask has and all their weapons, in the air, Florida is finally able to have a ground game that they've struggled the last few years. And it also helps that the offensive line has gotten better. There was one or two times where we saw some slip ups in the offensive line, but they're doing better now. And actually, they did a great job in this game tonight. And they were able to get some push out, and were able to give Trask time to throw, and were able to allow the running backs to go. And that also goes with having better run blockers. Again, it goes with Brewster and the tight ends doing well in their blocks. So everything's kind of moving a step forward. And like you said, they have been able to use some of these running backs in the air too. Malik Davis is one against Georgia that had 100 yards receiving in that game. So this is something that, Florida staff likes to tinker around and move players around to fit what they believe is their strengths. And, we even saw Kadarius Toney throw a pass today. It wasn't a completion, but that's the sort of thing where Florida will play around with. Michael Pirine last year threw a touchdown. Oh, no, attempted to throw a touchdown. So it's something that this staff isn't afraid to do.
We have to hit on the defense. So you see 63-35. Obviously, the conclusion is, oh, well, they got ripped up by Ole Miss. They got ripped up, for the better part of this season. They righted some wrongs against Missouri. The Georgia effort was pretty good, but here we are. They're giving up big points. But I always like to categorize and put it into context. When are you giving up the points? And this game was 35-14 at halftime. So not a lot of meaningful points out of that 35. So how did the defense look to you?
The defense looked a lot better. Yeah, 14 of these points did come in the fourth quarter. And they did look a lot better. Zach Carter had a scoop and score. He did a great job. He actually got to sack Felipe Franks, and he joked in the post-game presser, "I've always wanted to do that." Obviously, he couldn't do that against Felipe Franks during practice because he was their quarterback. And there's no issue between them. It's just that Felipe Franks is a very competitive guy. And when we even watched him at practice, he would kind of go up to the defenders and kind of rile them up. So before the game, the defenders were telling us, "I just want to hit him one time, man." And Zach Carter got his chance. But they did good well. There's a lot of jokes of saying third and Grantham, and they've been struggling on third down a lot, keeping, offenses on the field. But today they did pretty well. They went 3 for 9. So they are showing improvement. Now, there are times when we saw them, blow coverage, that Kurt Elam was beat on that first touchdown for Arkansas. So there are times where you go like, okay, they need improvement here and here, but, they are making steady improvement. If Arkansas, Felipe Franks has the ability to make big plays with his arms, and you saw that. So there are some big plays that they did let slip by. But at the end of the day, they were able to control the line of scrimmage, and they were able to force Franks to scramble, and they were able to get him off the field because of that, because the defensive line were able to do well in the pass rush, and they were able to kind of just put pressure on the quarterback and not allow Felipe Franks time to throw the ball, to make those explosive plays all the time. So, yes, we've seen a lot of progress. And again, I think I've mentioned that with you, Mark, before, that Kyrie Campbell has been a huge difference maker for Florida. You can tell he just makes everyone around him play better because they're all playing in their correct position. Like Zach Carter is playing in his right spot. You can see how much of a difference that makes him. He's able to rush in there. He gets quarterback hurries. He's able to finally sack Felipe Franks. So I think Florida is on the right trajectory. And it's considering that a lot of, they've had some missing pieces today. Linebacker James Houston was not available today. Jeremiah Moon was also not available today. These are guys that have heavy rotations, heavy reps. And then towards the end of the game, we're able to see young linebackers like Derek Wingo, who's a freshman, and we're able to see Tyron Hopper. So when you say they scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, we were also seeing young guys being rotated in that defense. We're able to see a lot of these freshmen come in, or a lot of these redshirt freshmen. So these guys were getting meaningful reps against an SEC competition. And I think just overall, when you look at this season and you look at these numbers, like even with Kyle Trask earlier, you're seeing these guys' numbers now against SEC competition. There's no cupcake games now. This is not, William and Mary or another team like Georgia State, so Georgia Southern. This is, the SEC competition. And you can see how much they've improved from the first game to now.
And that's a great point that you make for stat geeks and nerds like myself and others that are listening, is that I can remember Drew Lock a few years ago. And certainly he's gone on. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL. So not to discredit his work, but there was one particular season he threw like 44 touchdown passes. Well, they played 2 FCS teams in which he bombed away for like 6 or 7 touchdown passes. When you had to look at an SEC schedule for an SEC quarterback and see the 4 non-conference games, who did they play, and then kind of do a breakdown, a splits of sort, where you don't do that now. It's 10 SEC games, there are 10 quality opponents, and so the stats are truly legit for everyone across the board. Got Jackie Franciulli on the line. She breaks down the Gators for us on a regular basis. You can join Jackie, and I encourage you to head on over to allgators.com on SI and check out her work right there on Florida football. You can definitely catch all the insight, and it's obvious every time Jackie joins us. Jackie, we appreciate you stopping by. We do our little post-game show where we get all sorts of callers and try to get as much covered as possible. So thank you so much for stopping by and giving us a slice of the Gators.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Mark.